Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to friends all around the world. I'm Gretchen Gillis. I'm president of AAPG. I'm delighted to be here with SPE President Kamel Benasser and a couple of colleagues who we will introduce to you in a moment. We want to bring you up to date about the potential merger that we've been discussing for months now. And I think to kick it off, I'd like to just share with you some of my personal feelings about the importance of organizations like AAPG and SPE to me personally. And I have to say that my membership in AAPG has sustained me professionally for more than 30 years. Actually, it goes back before my professional career to the publications that were so helpful as an undergraduate and a graduate student. But then when I became a professional exploration geologist, AAPG was the place that I went to for training, for more publications, and for building professional skills through volunteering and networking. And so really my AAPG relationship has been critical to obtaining and keeping my professional employment. And I've made many great friends along the way. At this stage, knowing that the energy landscape is evolving quite a bit, I really would like to give back through AAPG and SPE to prepare for a changing future and the generations of geoscientists and engineers who are going to be following in our footsteps. And so now I'd like to hand over to my friend Kamel.
Thank you very much, Gretchen. Good day, everyone, wherever you are. I'm Kamel Benasser. I'm the SPE president for 2022. And also, like Gretchen, I'll talk a little bit about myself and what the merger means to me. I have been involved throughout almost all my professional life with the SPE, and I have been member of SPE for the last 37 years. I have also been member of AAPG during some periods. And after many years contributing in the areas of reservoir stimulation, hydraulic fracturing, reservoir engineering, I have expanded my professional horizon to a more wider picture, which is the energy transition, but still with a very strong basis on oil and gas related disciplines. I was also privileged to be a SP Distinguished Lecturer on Carbon Capture, Utilization and Storage about 15 years ago, and to have supported the SP's early involvement in the sustainability domain through the first multi-society forum related to the sustainable development of mineral resources. And I have always been amazed by the capacity of the SPE to lead in new areas and open new frontiers. What the proposed merger means and reflects is a common desire to have an even stronger voice in the future, building on our common foundation of petroleum-related technical disciplines. With our long-term partnership between SPE and AAPG and our shared vision, it was natural that we would come to our members with a proposal for a merger. And I want also to highlight that the decision at the end belongs to our members. And it does not belong to the board. We are just passing a message, making a proposal, or does it belong to the staff? And I would like to leave it now to Gretchen to introduce Jonathan Allen. You are muted, Gretchen.
It's my pleasure to introduce Jonathan Allen, who is a senior earth scientist at Chevron, and he is on the AAPG Executive Committee as secretary. Jonathan has a bachelor's degree from Colby College and master's and PhD degrees from the University of Nebraska at Lincoln. He has spent 12 years at Chevron so far, mainly with asset development and reservoir management teams. And he's been a member of AAPG for 16 years. And I'd like to hand back to Kamel to introduce our other colleague joining us this morning.
It's my great pleasure to introduce Simeon Eboury, who is a petroleum engineer at Chevron and also the SPE Regional Director for North America. We had the pleasure to have Simon join the board a few months ago, and I have been impressed by the extent of his involvement with the SPE, his passion, and I'm very, very thrilled that he would relate to the merger with his own perception, with his own words. So the floor is yours, Jonathan and Simmer.
All right. Well, I'll go first, I suppose. So thanks, Gretchen, for that introduction. As Gretchen said, my name is John Allen, and I'm one of the members of AAPG's Executive Committee. And when I think back to why I joined AAPG, I mean, it was a student, and admittedly, it was to get a job. And along the way to that goal, I benefited from many of the other services and programs that AAPG has offered. And that's really the main reason, why I continue to be an AAPG member. And some of those reasons are, the various networking opportunities that have resulted in a strong network of colleagues and friends, educational programs, as well as opportunities to advance and enhance my soft skills as well as my leadership skills. And that's why I've stayed a member of AAPG over the last 16 years. I recognize the benefit that AAPG has had for both my personal as well as for my professional growth. And so when I heard AAPG and SPE were exploring a merger, and throughout this whole merger process, I've been really excited for what the future may hold and the potential that this new organization has. And I see this as two organizations recognizing they need to grow, and not in terms of size, but to meet the evolving needs of our members as well as our future members. And for me, one of the most important aspects and one of the most exciting aspects of this merger is the expanded networking and collaboration opportunities with professionals from a diverse set of disciplines. We're all tackling technical challenges of finding energy resources, developing those energy resources in ever increasingly technically challenging environments, as well as with increased scrutiny to develop those resources in a safe and sustainable way. And as Gretchen said, I've spent my entire career in asset development and reservoir management. So, I've worked with reservoir engineers, petroleum engineers, drilling engineers, facility engineers, and all of those interactions have made me a stronger geologist, as well as a stronger industry professional in general. And that's really what I see as one of the key competitive advantages of this combined organization, having all of our subsurface professionals under one roof, solving the world's energy challenges. And it's really an exciting look to the future for me. And I don't see it as one or another organization ending, but I see it as two organizations evolving, embracing the change that the future has, and making sure that our members are able to capitalize upon that change and prosper from it. So, I'm really looking forward to speaking with you all today over the next hour or so. And one, just thanks for attending this town hall.
Simeon?
Thank you, Kamel. Thank you for that introduction. And similar to John, I am very excited about this opportunity, the potential merger. And I'll start by talking about what SPE means to me, and then I'll touch on my own impressions on the mission and vision. SPE to me means home. It's a professional home organization for me as a petroleum engineer and a lot of energy professionals. It's an organization where I belong as an engineer and an energy professional. SPE has given me more than I can ever give back. That's the way I view it in my involvement throughout the years. I could list a long list of the things that SPE gave to my own personal professional career. But I'll list the top three that I thought I would share with you this morning or this afternoon, wherever you are. First is professional development through hearing from industry giants, industry experts, and just to sit in the 1 hour webinar or conference and listening to those experts in the industry, that's just a wealth of knowledge that's been transferred from my experts to some of the younger professionals in the industry. Number two is leadership development. SPE and the professional organizations we belong to give us the opportunity to lead, to learn how to lead by leading in committees and events and other organizational items on the SPE. And number three, I would say for young professionals or not so young professionals, SPE provides networking, the opportunities to expand today. For me, it means a very strong foundation to build a new organization with unlimited potential, an organization that can navigate the challenges the industry is facing today and tomorrow. And when I look at the vision, for me, it really reminds me of why our profession in the energy industry is so noble and so crucial. So I'll leave you with those thoughts, and I'm looking forward to engaging with you later today in the town hall. Thank you.
Thank you, Simeon. I think I have to agree. I think the vision of safe, reliable, and affordable energy for everyone is a vision that will be easy for us to get behind. So I think now we'll turn to a few of the member concerns that we've been hearing. And I'm going to invite Kamel to begin with a discussion around why now for this merger.
Thank you very much, Gretchen, and thanks for Jonathan and Simon for very insightful thinking. So why are we talking about that now? And when we presented that to the proposal to the executive committee and to the board, one of the questions that we got is, why didn't you do earlier? And I love one question, one comment from Tom Sprinkle, who is listening, who is saying the merger should have happened when we were starting horizontal drilling, which is absolutely true, because this is a time where we never saw so many teams of geologists and reservoir and drilling engineers and production engineers all working together in the same rooms. So if we go now to the big picture, the industry have been changing quite rapidly. And if I look back since the last 12 years, we have seen three major cycles in our industry since the global financial crisis of 2008, 2009. There is also around the world a global move to reduce the carbon footprint of the production and use of energy, as well as using more efficiently energy. We're also looking at providing more energy to people who don't have access. Let's not forget that we have almost 1 billion people that don't have access to electricity today. So combining all that, reducing carbon footprint, using more efficiently energy, providing more access to energy could seem as an impossible combination. But actually, there has been quite significant progress that has been done in the energy sector through digitalization, through production of fossil fuels in a more efficient way, through renewables, through energy efficiency. And we see that as an opportunity for the energy future to become much more sustainable than what it has happened in the last 30 or 40 years. So that includes even reducing the footprint of coal through technologies like carbon capture and storage. So in such a low carbon scenario, oil and gas will continue to play a very significant role in the future. And the technologies that our members are expert in will become also used in new areas. And I mentioned carbon capture and storage, geothermal, hydrogen, and all that will be areas which are terra cognita, which is a domain we know very well. Uh, so time is for change. We have more pressure to the whole energy industry to move to energy transition. And one thing that is very clear, and we have seen that through what's happening with oil and gas prices over the last 12 months, is that the world cannot afford not to invest in oil and gas. It has to continue to invest in all scenarios on oil and gas, and our industry will be key in the future. So, if we go back to APG and SPE, we have been working together for the last 40 years in events, in conferences, in publications, and it was only natural that we say, okay, we share a common vision for the future, which will rely on oil and gas for the decades to go, and we are working every day in in our teams, multidisciplinary teams, in whether it's for drilling, reservoir management, and so on. And if I look at the SPE side, we have such a wide diversity of engineers, and the geoscientists are extremely close to many of the domains that we work with. And so we said, this time is now for change. So I will now leave it to Jonathan to address a second point, which is coming from some of the questions, the great questions we have had over the last few weeks. Is there a decreased focus on petroleum engineering and geosciences? Jonathan?
Yeah, thanks, Mel. So this is a pretty common concern that we're hearing from members, both in person, online, on social media. And I think petroleum engineering and petroleum geology is always going to be the foundation of the organization. Just as oil and gas is going to continue to be the foundation of the global energy portfolio for years to come. And we've tried to make that clear in both the mission and the vision. But we also need to acknowledge the future and prepare and ensure that our members are ready for that. And this means taking a wider and more holistic view of the energy industry. And both organizations already cover a variety of disciplines. So for example, within AAPG, we have groups dedicated to energy minerals and environmental geology. And we feel that this combined organization best equips our members to succeed in this rapidly changing industry environment. And additionally, we're both member-driven organizations. When our members tell us something that's important to them, we listen. So members have provided our ideas for conferences, technical programs and workshops, short courses, field trips, and other types of offerings. So if we want petroleum engineering and petroleum geology to be a focus for the organization, we need to ensure that the members want that, and that's what you're saying, and that you're telling us that you're attending conferences and short courses and all the types of programs that have petroleum engineering and petroleum geology within that, and that's their focus. But we also have heard from our members that topics such as data science and CCUS are increasingly important, and we've introduced programs to meet those needs as well. So I think as we continue forward, the programs and services and support that we provide and that the organization provides is going to meet the needs of all of our members going forward, just as we've done in the past and continue to do today.
Thank you, Simon.
Yes, I'll now take the next concern that has been raised, and the concern is about challenges of merging the organizational cultures of SPE and AAPG. This is a very valid concern, and I want let the members know that we're listening to their concerns, and we acknowledge that those concerns are valid. In terms of the cultures, change takes time, and we all know that with a merger of this magnitude or any merger, it takes time to merge and gel both organizations. And so in terms of culture, I believe the culture of the new organization will be determined by its members. You do have highly capable, highly intellectual members from both sides, very technical and with leadership skills. And within that body of membership, they will be able to shape the new organization when it comes to culture. So it's really up to us, up to you, the members, in terms of how we're going to make this work in terms of the culture of the two organizations. So I think if I look at my experience, I didn't mention earlier, I work for Chevron, I work in a global exploration group. And 8 years of my career has been working with geologists and geoscientists in a seamless group. And so that multifaceted, the technical team, that's what I envision with the merger. You have a team with multiple backgrounds working together to achieve a common goal. And so the culture will be shaped by those individuals. It's about the people, it's about the merger. No one can impose a culture on people. If you look at SPE, we, the members, generate the events, generate the ideas, and share those broadly across the globe.
Thank you very much, Simon. I'm going to handle the next question before handing it back to Gretchen. So one question we had is, let's say a larger organization, wouldn't that be marred with less organizational efficiency, less agility? We are becoming a fatter organization. And that reminds me of a discussion we had over a decade ago when we were expanding from the SPE to cover more areas internationally. And if you look back at how the SPE was 20 years ago in terms of membership and what it is now, it has expanded quite significantly. We are covering much more countries around the world. And we have adapted the SPE support organization to be more tuned with different regions around the world, with offices in places like the London office or the Dubai office or the Kuala Lumpur office or other offices around the world. And bigger doesn't mean less efficient. It just means that we need to be close, always close to the members, whether they are from different geographical regions or from different technical disciplines.
Mhm.
And I would say that if we have more members, we will have also some gained efficiency from the fact that we don't have to use two different membership managements. We don't need to have two business development teams. We don't need to have duplication in event organization. It's going to be more efficient. What we project, and this will be covered by Gretchen in the next point, is that we will have still the same number of regional directors. So, Gretchen, if you would like to handle the next point.
Certainly. Just to follow up with what you just said, I think AAPG staff as an organization bring tremendous efficiency and insight about how to streamline and manage the business very effectively. And so I think that the two staffs working together potentially would learn a lot from each other. So I'll now transition into talking about how the local organizations could work together in this new organization. And my comments are somewhat more directed to the AAPG groups, because AAPG has some independent organizations known as sections and a group known as affiliated societies. And each of these are independent groups. So there are a lot of moving parts, and that adds a little bit of complexity. The discussions about how these groups could work together continue because we really do want to get this right, and we need to hear more from our members to make that work effectively. So I think my main message here is that collaboration is serving all of us well, and we really do think that working together makes a lot of sense. As a member of the Houston Geological Society and the Gulf Coast section of AAPG, I see the value that each of these brings. And so preserving collaborative relationships, I think, is important. But I'm going to bring up the fact that there is some risk here. And I know people are concerned about talking about some aspects of the merger that are uncertain or possibly not positive. And so I'll bring it up here. I think a key risk is participation by members to drive the integration in ways that will benefit everyone in this new organization. And so the best way to address that risk is to get involved and to help out. Now, I'll follow that by saying that as we have been exploring this merger, I think the efforts of both the SPE board and the AAPG executive committee have been extraordinary in terms of leading us collaboratively to a shared mission, vision, and core values. And then we have appointed a number of volunteers and staff to a set of groups focusing on branding, events, publications, membership, and so on, and the components, which I'm talking about now. And the volunteers who have engaged in these things have stepped up and worked really energetically and collaboratively. So that makes me optimistic that this risk will be mitigated by working together in productive ways. And as Camille said, we know each other's organizations quite well. We've been working together for decades very successfully. And for me, the most meaningful experience that I've had there is working on the Unconventional Resources Technology Conference, which has been a huge success for both organizations. So I want to bring back John and Simeon to help us with a little bit of discussion around the topic of community. And there are concerns that there might be potentially some losses of feeling of community in forming a larger organization.
Yes, John, if you don't mind, I'll go first and then I'll hand it to you. So this is not a valid concern that we heard from the members. As you grow or as you increase the size of an organization, that possible loss of community could be there. I will share my personal experience with SPE specifically, which is a global organization, and how you could feel that way if you think of it as the giant global organization around the world. But I tend to think of it in terms of the local community. Maybe that's how I find home in SPE or in the professional society that you're associated with. I've been very involved with the Gulf Coast section. And so for me, SPE, at that time meant the Gulf Coast section. But then when you go to a global conference across the world in Amsterdam or in Canada, in that conference, that is your community because everyone in that conference is a member of the same society. So I think I leave you with, even though it might feel like a big combined organization, you can find home in the sections and the small groups that you work in your technical discipline and also in the specific conferences. That is where the family of the combined organization is felt more so than the global nature that could be overwhelming for any one member. John, I'll send it back to you.
And yes, I mean, I'll just echo that. I just feel like I mentioned in my opening comments is that I feel that for this organization, it's just going to create a much larger opportunity for you to find your community, right? And I think for me, working with all of my counterparts from SPE on this merger, whether it be in the working groups, on the board of director, executive committee, whatnot, it's just been a really great relationship working with these with the SPE folks, and I just see those relationships blossoming under a new large organization. And like I said previously, again, we're member-driven organizations. people will develop their communities if they want to develop them, right? I mean, I think we've seen communities just have really grown up and flourished within both organizations, like the young professionals. And then we also have emerging diversity and inclusion groups and sustainability groups. And so those all have come from the members. And so I think that similar thing is going to happen going forward. We'll just have more people to do it, more people to come together in a global environment. So you know, I'm really looking forward to the expanded community. Personally, I think there's a lot of opportunities there.
Thank you very much, Jonathan and Simon. So there is another question that has come through many of the social networks, which is the idea is that the merger could be a financial decision in a down market. And that discussion was quite interesting because it shows that many of our members do not perhaps have all the understanding of the financial structure or even the organizational structure of the two societies. And our societies are composed of staff who are supporting all the events, all the membership, and we certainly are blessed with having the volunteering of our members. But you cannot run an organization with a complexity of the SPE without having dedicated staff who are quality staff. So let me go back to the financial and whether it was a driver for the merger. When the discussion started, there was absolutely no thought about the finance. It was much more on a strategic opportunity in a market that was changing. I can reassure our audience that from the SPE side, we are financially strong, and that strength has allowed us to maintain a high level of service to our members in spite of reduced revenues, which as a result of the pandemic. The past, and just from a financial standpoint, the SPE's goal is not to generate a profit. We are not non-for-profit organization. We are basically trying to break even, and so that allows us to provide all those services. The last 2 years have been challenging financially for both organizations because we have revenue models that, with much of our revenue coming from exhibitions and sponsorship, and that has really not happened during the last 2 years because of the pandemic. It's not the first time that we have these type of events, but I don't recall having had this level of impact in the past. We have had, let's say, a downturn during the 2015, 2016, but then after that, both AAPG and SPE have resumed their activity, their normal activity and services to their members. What we are looking for in the future is the possibility to come back to a steady financial state for the SPE in 2023. And so we will go back to what I would call steady state mode with a balanced budget. And what we have seen over the last couple of months is driving us to optimism with not the conferences, the exhibition, but also the drive of our members to meet again in a physical location. I think people are pretty tired of virtual meetings, and that contact is certainly something that is not going to disappear. And so I want to reassure that the financial decision is not the driver. There could be financial benefits, but they are very much outweighed by the strategic considerations. So we will go now to some questions from the audience. And I would ask our moderators to bring some of the questions from the live feeds.
So I'd like to jump in on Daniel's question about focusing on North America versus professionals in the rest of the world. I've worked almost my entire career in Texas, but have focused as a geologist on many parts of the world. And I think for geologists, really to be an effective petroleum geologist or geoscientist, you have to have a very broad worldview and network to understand the different plays, the different play analogs, to go see the rocks. And I also think that networking broadly is so important to understanding just keeping up to date with the relevant science. So I think if we were to focus on North America, that would be very much to our detriment as geoscientists, as employees of exploration and production organizations, and so on. So I do think that a broad international global focus is really important to geoscientists in terms of doing their jobs properly. Perhaps, I don't know if Simeon and John and Kamel would like to weigh in on that as well. If not, we can move to the next question.
Yeah, I wanted to take another question, which is related to the SPE, is that the perception that less value has been placed from the SPE side on technical expertise over the last 10 years and more on soft issues. The latter should be an addition, not at the expense of the technical disciplines or technical expertise. And perhaps I can reflect and then ask Simeon to comment on that. I think that we have tried over the last decade to develop also offerings in the area of business management and leadership. But we have done it not at the expense of the other technical disciplines. We have still the same number of technical sections. We have the same number of technical directors. But what we considered is that it was a nice feature to help our members to go through these industry cycles, to provide them with skills that perhaps they were not getting in relation with our industry. People get skills in communication, in finance, and so on. But we wanted to make sure that we covered also the needs of our members in that. And we have had a very enthusiastic support from membership in that. So I don't know, Simon, do you think that we are lowering the guard on technical disciplines?
Thank you, Kamel, for the opportunity to comment on that question. I personally don't believe we're lowering the guard on the technical disciplines. I had to only see us increase and expand the tent, which is what we've been communicating. As the industry evolves, we as a society, as professionals, we also evolve in covering more areas. You mentioned several examples where we are expanding our technical capabilities especially in the wake of the energy transition and the new skills that the engineers and geoscientists have to have or have to adopt to address those technical difficult questions. Geothermal is an example that we all probably need to get up to speed on that technology and how it's been applied. So just a couple of examples how SPE, AAPG, or the combined organization can morph and merge to serve the needs of our industry and the needs of our professional members. So we will always adjust and adapt and increase in areas that maybe in several years ago we didn't think we will be venturing in the energy industry.
Gretchen, I'll leave it to handle next question.
Thank you. Let's see what pops up. And I suppose while we're waiting, I'll just defend soft skills as also being important skills, just because I think in my experience, sometimes what distinguishes people in their performance is things like teamwork and communication. But all these skills are important. Okay, so there's a question about how will the combined organization change the revenue model when they've been unable to move away from conferences as a principal driver for the last decade. So I think conferences have been an effective revenue source. I think conferences during COVID have been a very challenging revenue source because I think in conferences we see the opportunity to present technically to each other, but supported by exhibitions and sponsorships. And effective exhibitions really do depend on having people in person together. I mean, we've made many efforts at hybrid and so on, and the key exhibition piece has not worked well financially. But these events are very important to support the range of activities of the organization. And for me, one of the crucial ones is publications. Other things that aren't necessarily financially positive, but the conferences support that. I wonder, would anybody else like to comment on that? Let me just add one more point, though. I think we can do hybrid for a couple of years. And I think for people who are later in their career, their networks are pretty solidly in place. But I think for early career professionals, not being able to gather in person is really tough on them developing their professional network and meeting people who will be influential in their careers.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment, Gretchen, that I had the opportunity to attend two major events, one at AAPG and the other one at the hydraulic fracture conference. And it was amazing how much traffic there was, how much attendance there was in the sessions. I don't recall having seen that level in the past. And that was from day one to the last day. And people were so eager to meet, to ask direct questions to the presenters, and that perhaps they wouldn't have done through a virtual or hybrid event.
Okay, unless Jonathan or Simeon want to weigh in, I think we can move to the next question.
Yeah, I was going to take a comment from Jim Tucker, who is a geologist at Ocam Resources. And what he comments is that we need to ensure that 1 + 1 is greater than 2 and not 1.5. What he says is professional societies exist to serve members, and the commonality between the two current organizations and among the members of both is that we use sciences and engineering to solve commercial problems. So, Jim, you have touched on one of the essential questions that we ask ourselves when we started the discussion. How can we make sure that 1 + 1 is not lower than 2 and actually is higher than 2? And this is basically from making sure that our members will get significantly more than what they are currently getting today without paying a higher price, and also that we will be able to attract new members. This is what in the SPE terminology we call near members. These are people that would be interested in our activities but have not gone into full membership. We think that by building on our petroleum disciplines and providing that knowledge to other areas. We just created, for instance, a technical section on the SPE side on geothermal. We have had CCUS for now something like 13 or 14 years as a technical sections. We have Gaia as a joint initiative on sustainability, which is also attracting people that are in the periphery of our common memberships. So I think that we really have the opportunity to build a stronger membership and hopefully cater to our existing members so they recognize themselves in the technical disciplines that we have in the regional structure, but also provide the opportunity for new members.
Okay, so there's a question about the constitution of the merged organization as material for members before the vote. There's a pretty extensive list of material that is required to be provided under statutes for AAPG members because of our Colorado corporate status. And that includes some of what's been shared already, the mission, vision, and values, the proposed governance structure, the proposed membership structure, which we haven't talked about today, but it's, I think, simple, elegant, and supports members at various career stages. And one of the things that is currently in preparation is the set of bylaws of the organization. And as I understand it, that is one of the things that we will be sharing as part of the voting package for the membership. So John, would you like to take the next question?
Yeah, I'll take this one. So, the question here is what would happen if voting result is not supporting the merger? And I think one of the important things we need to get across is that, the vote is all member driven, right? And so the members of each society, each organization are going to be voting on whether this merger is a worthwhile proposition. So if the vote is no, that means the members do not feel that this is worthwhile to do. And so on AAPG side, that's a quorum of 25% of our voting members. And then the vote has to be 50% plus one. I think on SPE side, it's 2/3 of the members voting have to vote yes for the mergers to pass. And so if it's a no, then it's a no. It's the status quo, right? So both organizations will continue to operate as separate organizations, and they'll have to face the challenges that we continue to face going forward as however they decide to do that. I can speak on AAPG side. We have a kind of what we've called a plan C to go forward. I can't speak to SPE side, unfortunately, but there are plans in place if there is a no vote on the merger. But as the board of directors and the executive committee, this is what we feel is the preferred alternative, and this is what we feel the merger is going to set us both organizations up for success.
Great, thank you. So there's a question from David Leary about why isn't AAPG merging with SEG? Like our relationship with SPE, we've had a long collaborative relationship with SEG, and I've been a member of all three organizations for years. When AAPG decided to explore greater collaboration as part of its strategic response to the changes in the environment, we did talk to SEG, and I'm very proud of the fact that we agreed to join our annual meetings as the image event for the next 5 years. And even though it was somewhat affected by COVID, the first image event, I think, was very healthy because we showed that we were responsive to our constituents and particularly stakeholders like exhibitors and sponsors by bringing these two annual meetings together. Now, the next stage of that is to truly integrate the technical program, which is what we're working on now. But that was the degree of collaboration that SEG was willing to pursue with SPE, with AAPG at that time. Since then, with the announcement that AAPG and SPE are exploring a merger, SEG has formed a strategic options group, and they have talked with the merger steering committee a couple of times to understand what we're doing and some of our motivations. And they continue to look at this, and we continue to communicate. But SEG also needs to work with its membership to decide what its best path is. So there is discussion going on, but SEG and its membership will decide what they will pursue strategically. And thank you for that question.
Thank you, Gretchen. And actually, I had the opportunity to attend the image meeting, and that was a great event. Certainly learned a lot during that event coming from the SPE. So one question we have from Surendra Bateja. Are we planning to prepare constitution of the merged organization before asking for a vote? So where we are coming from is we have two non-for-profit organizations that have different constitutions, different structures. And if you are talking about a merger, you need to define what's the geometry of the combined organization before submitting it to a vote. So that's one thing, is what kind of legal structure would be going for, because because we have two different structures, so the combined one would be different, at least from one of them. The second point is that we had set up different work groups on the proposed merger. One of them was on the components, and that group has made some proposals in terms of the relationships with on the regional side, on the technical side, and Gretchen has mentioned made some comments on this before, and also some ideas about some of the potential reorganization within the staff structure to handle the efficiencies that could be obtained from the merger. So all these are part of the thoughts, and we wanted to make sure that our members, before their vote, had something that they could project the potential new organization to base their votes on.
Great, thank you. So we have a really interesting question about, can we have at least one person who does not agree with this merger speak as well? And we have, I think, brought up 7 different concerns that members have raised repeatedly before the Q&A began, because we wanted to address those. I think I also brought up one of the questions about a critical risk of this merger. But I'd like to invite Simeon to speak if he would like, and then maybe Jonathan, please.
Thank you, Gretchen. This is a common question that we hear both here in the chat and previous town halls. There is this, maybe it's a concern that members maybe don't view opposing views on the panels, and they maybe they perceive that everyone on the panel is only for the merger. I would like to leave the membership or the audience today know that as the regional director and our board members, and I'm assuming the same thing with the executive committee, at SPE, AAPG, we are listening to all our members. We are representatives for all our membership. I constantly get feedback from members who are opposing the merger, and I listen attentively. I listen because I want to understand their concerns. And Gretchen mentioned one of the risks, and they want to know what are the risks. They want us to voice the risk. But the risk is it could not go forward. I think John mentioned that, and it's just an outcome out of the voting from the members. And so I want to make sure they know they're listened, they're heard. We represent both pros and cons. The pros are there, the cons are there. We talked about the concerns today. And I just think that it's not trying to ignore the opposing views. It's simply we represent all views, and we are happy to talk about additional risk or additional concerns. And maybe we can answer those in the chat if there are more concerns that is to be voiced. I would just leave it at we have representatives to the membership, both for and against the members. And I hope that the audience can see that more so than thinking only the positive supporting views are here represented.
And I'll just add something else too, is that we're constantly hearing your feedback and your suggestions and your concerns, right? And so as a result of that, we've taken on a greater body of work and exploration for various aspects of this merger because of your feedback, because of member feedback. So that's why we have a branding working group working. We have the components working group. So as a result of your feedback and concerns, we're exploring some aspects of the merger in greater detail than we initially had started. So that's the other thing. All of your concerns and everything, we're taking your feedback and we're acting on that feedback. And I hope you all truly know that. And it's we're not some like shadowy cabal like trying to to change the organizations at all like this. But I mean, this is really we're taking your feedback and we're interested, and the reason we're doing this is that we feel that this is in the best interest of both organizations.
Thank you for the.
Sorry, I'd like to just jump in one more time, please, because I think within the geoscience community, there's been a very clear concern about the sense of community and the culture in the organization, and that is a risk of this integration, and I think that is going to depend heavily on member performance. Now, I have a lot of confidence in volunteers, having worked with many wonderful volunteers over the decades with AAPG, and for a shorter time, but going on a decade with SPE. But I'd like to temper the concerns with the vision and the mission that we are articulating, because I think these will propel us into the future in a flexible way that serves members incredibly well. I think as we really struggle with the lack of comprehension of the energy transition, for example, to be able to say, yes, we are producing lots of petroleum, lots of oil and gas for decades to come because we want safe, reliable, and affordable energy for all. And I think ultimately this helps us be more effective both within our careers as geoscientists and engineers and as a unified organization. Sorry to interrupt, Kamel, please go.
No, I just wanted to comment that the feedback that we have received through the multiple channels has been very much acted upon, and it shows that our members are really keen to see a future for our societies that would mean something to them now and in the future. And if you look at, for instance, the mission and vision from the first version to the one that is presented now, you will see some changes that are actually being originated from the feedback from the different channels. I know we are coming to the top of the hour. I would like to provide a podium for both Jonathan and Simeon to perhaps make some closing remarks on the what is the merger, how do they see it in the future, if that goes through, and because you represent the voice of the future.
Go ahead, Jonathan, if you like. Or I can go. You tell me.
No, that's fine. I'll go. And so, I mean, for me, I think, you know, I've been reading the comments in the chats as they're coming through, and I want to thank everyone first for their participation. And you know, we clearly have a very engaged and passionate membership for both SPE and AAPG, and I really want to take it back to, you know, it's important to remember that these are your organizations, right? You've been giving us the feedback. We're trying to act upon it, and in the end, the members are going to decide on the merger and what and whether it's worthwhile. And you know, I really just want you to look back at the mission for this new organization, and you know that we're trying to connect the global community of engineers, geoscientists, and other professionals, you know, and to use our expertise in petroleum to collaborate, to share our knowledge and experiences to really achieve that safe, sustainable energy future. And I think, you know, these kind of aspirational goals and wants, and I know, you know, I've seen some of the comments that it's been kind of, the language that we've used has been a little flowery and it's not like hard data. But at the end of the day, you know, I joined AAPG because I wanted to have a similar community of like-minded folks that I could get together with, network with, and work with. And I feel that is what this new organization presents for our members currently, as well as for students and future members. So Simeon?
Thank you, John, and I echo your comments. And first, I'll start by thanking Kamel and Gretchen for allowing us to participate today. It's been a great experience. And then I'd like to thank the members that came to us as regional directors and board members to voice their opinions about the merger. I've received both positive and maybe not so positive feedback, but it's all feedback. And not taking that into consideration, I brought it to the board to act on, which you've seen a lot of acting on those. And so I encourage you to continue to talk to us, your board director members, so that we can continue to have this conversation all the way leading to the vote. I'm planning to talk to the members of my regions and have more separate conversations, and those will be very engaging and very, very important. Now, to leave you with a few thoughts about the merger itself, I view it as just a winning formula here in my own view. I feel like when we work as one team, we can achieve a lot of greatness. And so I believe by doing this merger and working collaboratively in the future, we can tackle any problems, any challenges ahead, both now and in the future. I think that multidisciplinary mindset, as we always do in our industry, it truly allows us to persevere and push through any challenges that come in front of us. So this is what I'll leave you with, and I think this is going to be a great outcome if the members want it. It's all about the members, and I encourage you to vote. It's your voice, it's your vote, and you make the difference.
Thank you, John and Simeon. This has been a really wonderful conversation, and I also want to thank Kamel for taking the time to join us here. I echo your comments. I am very optimistic that we can do great things together. And I think pursuing shared values and a shared mission and vision will make us a very strong organization. So I'll leave it to Kamel to close us out. Thanks very much for your attention and comments.
Thank you very much, Gretchen. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Jonathan. I think that it's this meeting that we had and the number of questions, comments, and so on in the chat line have been fantastic. We had some over 170 different comments that show the level of engagement for our members. I think that we do not have all the answers. Certainly, it's an area that we are progressing in, and we are doing something that is a first of a kind. But we know that our members have never been rebuked by by new approaches. If I look at an example, what has happened only 15 years ago with the unconventionals, and when I see today in multidisciplinary teams people working on unconventionals, it's very hard to say who is the geologist, who is the production engineers, and so on, because they all speak the same language, they work together, and we have seen this fantastic progress. I think Gretchen mentioned EarTech, where we see this all these great people working together in and what there is no wall between those different organizations. And what we are trying to do is making sure that there is no wall in knowledge. We provide access of knowledge to all the parties that are in our domain so that our energy future is sustainable. We provide transparency to everything that we do, and we provide opportunities for our young members, for our more mature professionals to all have opportunities in this energy transition, and certainly look forward to have more discussions. And before we go to the vote, you have a channel which is the merger website to reach out to us. And thank you all for your attention today.